The rain hadn't stopped all day. It came down in long, tired sheets that turned the streets of Millbrook into mirrors of broken light. Inside Ray's diner, the warmth of coffee and bacon grease fought back the chill that crept through the cracks in the door. The booths were half empty, the air thick with quiet music from an old jukebox. At the far end sat a woman named Lena Price. Her hair clung damply to her neck, and her jacket looked one storm away from falling apart. She ate slowly, slicing the last piece of pancake as though stretching time itself. Every few seconds, her eyes flicked toward the window, restless, searching. Behind the counter, Mabel, the middle-aged waitress with kind eyes and a sharp tongue, watched her. After 20 years on the job, she'd learned the difference between a customer and a story. Lena was a story. "You all right over there, honey?" Mabel asked, setting down a fresh napkin. Lena looked up and managed a small, shaky smile. "Yeah. Just tired." Mabel nodded, poured her more coffee, and drifted away. But she kept glancing back. Something about the woman's trembling hands told her this wasn't just another long night. Then the bell over the door jingled, and a gust of cold air swept through. A man stepped inside, tall, broad-shouldered, rain dripping from the sleeves of a leather jacket. His boots thudded against the floor as he walked toward a corner booth. His name was Travis Boone, though no one there knew it yet. The faint scent of gasoline and wet asphalt clung to him. He set down his helmet, ran a hand through his rain-soaked hair, and nodded at Mabel. "Coffee. Black." "Coming right up," she said, her tone cautious but polite. As she poured, Lena pushed her plate aside. There were a few bites left, some eggs, a piece of toast, half a sausage. She stared at it for a long moment before quietly asking, "Could I get a box for the leftovers?" Mabel smiled. "Of course you can." Lena hesitated, eyes low. "It's for my daughter," she added softly. Her words barely reached the next booth, but they landed like thunder. A few heads turned, though everyone pretended they hadn't heard. Travis looked up from his coffee, his jaw tightening just slightly. "How old's she?" Mabel asked gently. 7, Lena said. "She likes eggs. Especially when they're still warm." There was a pause, a small, delicate silence. Then Mabel packed the food into a box and set it down carefully, as if it were something fragile. "Here you go, sweetheart. No rush." Lena reached for her purse, fumbling with the zipper. She pulled out a few wrinkled bills, counting under her breath. Her face fell. I thought I had enough," she whispered. "I'm sorry. I'll just leave the box." "Don't worry about it," Mabel said softly. "It's taken care of." But Lena shook her head, her pride fighting her hunger. "No, I can't take what I can't pay for." Travis's chair scraped loudly against the floor. Every head turned. He stood up, pulled a 20 from his wallet, and set it on the counter. "You can," he said, his voice low but firm. "And you will." The diner went silent. Even the jukebox seemed to stop mid-note. Lena froze, unsure whether to thank him or run. Travis nodded toward the box. "Take it." "For her." Lena's hand trembled as she reached for the box. Her throat tightened, a wave of shame and gratitude colliding inside her. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes fixed on the worn floor tiles. Travis didn't answer. He sat back down, his coffee untouched, eyes distant, as though her words had pulled something buried to the surface. Mabel, sensing the tension, cleared her throat and went to check on another table. Lena stood there for a moment, clutching the small white box like it held her world together. Then she turned toward the door. Outside, the storm had calmed to a drizzle. A single streetlight flickered, reflecting in puddles that stretched across the parking lot. Lena stepped into the night, wrapping her jacket tighter, and disappeared into the dark. Travis watched through the window until her silhouette faded. His jaw clenched, his knuckles pale against the mug. "You okay, hon?" Mabel asked quietly as she came back around. He nodded once. "Yeah," he muttered. "Just, reminds me of someone." Mabel hesitated, then said softly, "She looked like she's been through it. Lot of people coming in like that lately, trying to hold on." Travis stared at the window again, watching the rain trace lines down the glass. "Yeah. Some hold on harder than others." He left the money for his coffee, picked up his helmet, and walked out. The night swallowed the sound of his boots. The next morning, the rain had cleared. The sky over Millbrook stretched wide and pale, the kind of blue that feels too open, too honest. Travis rode his bike along the edge of town, past the rows of small houses and rusted mailboxes. He didn't know why, but he turned down Maple Avenue, a narrow street lined with cracked sidewalks and sagging porches. The kind of place that looked like it had stories nobody wanted to tell. He slowed when he saw her, Lena, standing outside a small brick building. She held the diner box in one hand, and beside her was a little girl in a faded yellow raincoat. The girl's hair was tangled, her shoes too big, but her eyes, bright, curious, were full of life. She laughed as she opened the box and pulled out the leftover sausage, taking small, careful bites. Lena smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from her daughter's face. That smile, it wasn't the tired, empty one from last night. It was softer, fragile, but real. Travis sat there for a long moment, engine idling. Then he cut the ignition. Lena looked up, startled. Her eyes widened when she recognized him. "You followed me?" she asked, a note of fear in her voice. He shook his head. "Didn't mean to. Just, ended up here." The girl turned, eyes wide. "Mommy, is that the man from the diner?" Lena hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes, sweetheart. That's him." The little girl grinned. "Thank you for my breakfast." Travis's chest tightened. He smiled back, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You're welcome, kiddo." Lena shifted uneasily. "Look, I appreciate what you did. But we're fine. You don't need to." He raised a hand. "I'm not here to bother you. Just making sure you're okay." She looked at him for a long moment, reading something in his face, something tired and haunted. Then she sighed. "We're managing." "Yeah," he said quietly. "I can tell." He turned to leave, but her voice stopped him. "Wait." He turned back. "You said I reminded you of someone," she said softly. "Who?" Travis looked at the little girl, then back at Lena. The weight in his eyes deepened. "My sister," he said. "She had a daughter too." Lena waited, but he didn't say more. Instead, he put on his helmet, started the engine, and rode off, leaving only the faint echo of his past in the cold morning air. The rumble of Travis's motorcycle faded into the distance, leaving behind only the hum of traffic and the wind whispering through the cracked buildings. Lena watched until he disappeared. She wasn't sure why his presence had stirred something in her, fear, maybe, but also a strange, unspoken familiarity. That afternoon, Lena returned to Ray's diner. She carried a small, crumpled envelope in her hand. The bell chimed softly as she stepped in. Mabel looked up from refilling sugar jars. "Hey there, sweetheart. Back so soon?" Lena nodded nervously. "I came to pay for what I couldn't last night. It's not much, but," she set the envelope on the counter. "I can't take charity. Not anymore." Mabel sighed, shaking her head gently. "Honey, you don't owe us a thing. That man already covered it." "I know," Lena said, her voice trembling. "But I need to. For my daughter. I want her to see that we can stand on our own." Mabel smiled softly, her eyes glistening. "You're stronger than you think." Before Lena could answer, the door opened again, and Travis walked in. His leather jacket was gone, replaced with a dark flannel shirt. He looked different in the light, older somehow, the hard edges of the night softened. Lena froze. "You again? Guess I can't stay away from good coffee," he said lightly, sliding into a booth. Mabel shot Lena a look that said talk to him. Then she walked off to give them space. Lena crossed her arms. "Why are you really here?" He met her eyes, serious now. "Because last night didn't sit right with me. You looked like someone I once failed." Lena frowned. "Your sister?" Travis nodded slowly. "Yeah. She got mixed up with a man who promised her everything and left her with nothing but a kid and an empty wallet. She was proud, wouldn't take help, wouldn't ask for it. Said she'd manage. One winter, she got sick. Didn't tell anyone until it was too late." Lena swallowed hard, her throat dry. "What happened to her daughter?" His gaze dropped to the table. "She ended up in foster care. I was overseas back then. By the time I got back, she was gone, adopted by someone out of state. I never found her." Silence hung between them, heavy and raw. Then Lena whispered, "I'm sorry." He looked up, and there was something new in his expression, a flicker of hope mixed with disbelief. "Your daughter," he said slowly, "what's her name?" "Grace," Lena said softly. Travis froze. The air seemed to still. "Grace?" Lena nodded, confused. "Yeah. Why?" His voice cracked when he spoke again. "My sister's daughter's name was Grace." The color drained from her face. That can't be." He reached into his wallet, pulling out a small, creased photo, a woman holding a toddler, both smiling under a summer sky. "This was my sister. That's Grace when she was 2. Lena's hand trembled as she took the photo. Her eyes darted between the picture and the little girl sitting in the corner booth, coloring on a napkin with crayons Mabel had given her. The resemblance was undeniable. The same brown curls. The same small dimple when she smiled. "Where did you say your sister lived?" Lena whispered. "Boise," he said quietly. "But she left years ago." Lena felt her chest tighten. "My husband, Grace's father, said her mother died in a car accident before I met him. He said she had no family left." Travis stared at her, realization dawning. "He lied to you." The room went silent except for the low hum of the diner lights. Then Mabel approached, eyes wide, sensing the change in the air. "Everything all right here?" Lena couldn't answer. She turned toward Grace, tears welling up. "Travis," she whispered, "you're saying, she's your niece?" He nodded slowly, voice trembling. "Yeah. She's the last of my family." Grace looked up from her drawing. "Mommy, are you crying?" Lena wiped her cheeks and forced a shaky smile. "No, sweetheart. These are happy tears." Travis crouched beside Grace, his eyes soft but glistening. "Hey there, kiddo," he said quietly. "You like pancakes?" Grace giggled. "They're my favorite." He smiled, a real one this time. "Mine too." Lena looked at them, at the way Grace smiled like she'd known him all along, and something in her heart finally broke open. For the first time in years, she felt like she wasn't fighting the world alone. Mabel stood behind the counter, watching the three of them. The biker, the mother, the little girl, all bound together by fate in a diner on a rainy street. She smiled softly and whispered to herself, "Sometimes, the people meant to find each other just do, no matter how far they've gone." Outside, the clouds broke apart, and sunlight poured through the diner windows, warm, golden, and full of promise. And as Travis and Lena sat side by side, sharing coffee while Grace drew tiny hearts on napkins, it felt like the world had finally given back what it once took away.